centered around music, which gets me kind of ready for the day. So this is typically on the top of my playlist.
Chance the Rapper.
It's a swear.
It's Chance the motherfucking Rapper. All right, you're gonna say it. You're gonna say it right. So this is where I get started. I hope most of you know it. If you do, you can sing along. Good. Is everyone so far? We in the mood? Zen? It's overflowing. So everyone just take a breath. Calm it down. Calm your heart down. Heart rate. Everyone good so far? Take a deep breath, Holmes.
Please don't sing.
Who runs to this song for real on a treadmill? Who has this on a playlist? If you don't, you're missing out.
I think it's running song.
Alright. We want more? Is that enough?
No.
We're good.
By the way, my son Caleb, who's going into the Air Force, his very first home run, he was 10 years old in baseball, which is crazy, that song's 9 years old. We were driving to the baseball field and that song was on, and he hit a home run, and so every day we had to go to the baseball field from then on. He had to listen to that song, so it's a fun little song. Where does everyone's business come from? That's a question. So just kind of popcorn out where your business comes from. Okay.
Steve Snider.
Referrals, right? Yeah, here's this easy. So referrals, how long have you been doing this, guys?
5 years.
5 years. So is it referrals from past clients or referrals from friends? A bit of both right now, right? Because you've been in it long enough. But at first it was probably just friends and people that you know. Anyone else? Business. Referrals?
Same.
Okay.
Uptime too. Referrals, uptime, and
Zillow.
Yeah, right. You've had business on Zillow.
2 deals already.
That's right.
Cold calls.
Really?
From open houses.
Stud.
we're working with other
Make sure
brokers.
stud. You get a gold star if you're cold calling. It's the greatest. Greatest.
She's the best.
Eavesdropping.
Yeah, stealing other people's clients. Poaching.
Not necessarily.
Is poaching anyone's strategy?
By the way, eavesdropping is good because the person at the restaurant next to you
That's what I
starts like
mean.
the real estate.
That's
You
what
know you're right.
I
in there
hear
in that
real estate, I
conversation.
hear apartment, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm like a flood now.
So yeah, poaching, by the way, is another really good one, because most brokers suck. Let's be honest. So to poach their clients is not quite difficult. Okay. Any other?
Working with
places?
other brokers. Someone wants to split a listing. You know, hey,
Help.
do you want to go on this with me?
Okay.
Hey, you sold in the building 2 years ago. Can you be a part of
Right.
this?
Right. Which, by the way, we'll talk about at the end because that's a unique thing I think at Core. Right.
Mhm.
Very few companies. Who's been somewhere else, actively doing real estate somewhere else, right? No one has a culture like this, and I'm not saying that just to say it. That there is no issue that if you want to go get business because you have a referral opportunity that might be out of your pay grade, to ask someone to come and do it. You know.
That's worked for me.
It's an incredible tool that we have at Core. So when you think about where your business comes from and you're going to track that, put that somewhere in your list of 2017 that you're going to have an opportunity that you're not capable, probably, I mean not that we're not all capable, but you're not going to be able to get that deal without some help. And we have an environment here where I think it's very safe to ask for help, right? So anyway, all right, all good questions. I just simply said, you know, that at open houses, obviously it's trickier to do open houses if you don't have listings. But one of the unique things we have at Core is that you can do open house coverage for people. And if you haven't collectively asked other people to do open houses for them, you should. And we have an environment here where that's okay. Have to figure out with the individual brokers what the compensation would be, and you know, what do you get at the end? Do you get clients that you pick up or whatever it's going to be, however that's going to work. But talk to different brokers and do that. And I will say that, you know, after 4+ years, I still ask if I could do an open house at a place in Soho or a place in the West Village that I don't have a listing at, because I want to meet the people in that neighborhood. And we have, usually have several listings. So I still do them, and I think they're valuable. And the one reason that we do this, I joked playing this song, but the key line, right, is you have one shot and one opportunity. Would you seize it? I'm just kidding. And I think at an open house, that really is the thing to do, right? That you've got a chance to talk to someone for more than an elevator speech, but maybe 5 minutes, sometimes 10 minutes, where you can gain their attention, and that's what we're going to talk about today. What do you do with that? And the same thing when you walk in. When someone does a walk-in, that I say this very honestly, I've been very successful at converting walk-ins. We have the star of all stars with walk-ins. Brian Sean Atterbury has a story that he doesn't need to get into, but that is incredible, that we would die to have a walk-in like that. But it wasn't, he was ready for a buyer to come in and had all of the answers and was prepared to answer that. It wasn't luck. It wasn't the guy walked in. But luck and preparation is where that opportunity comes, right? So he was ready to answer questions that a guy had to do, but now he's built a client who will be a client for 20 years. I mean,
All right.
he'll be a client forever, and he's a friend, and he's turning from a guy that walked in off the street. But he was ready to deal with this guy in a very specific way. So whether that's an open house, whether that's a walk-in, whatever it is, we need to be, ready to answer people's questions. And I really believe that everyone that you meet should be your client. And I mean that very humbly, to be honest. I know that I'm better than everyone else, no offense to anyone in the room. But I believe it, that I'm more prepared and ready to take a client out to show apartments, to list their apartment, to rent them an apartment, than anyone. And we should all kind of feel that same way. So everyone you meet is your client. You don't get them all, it's not like you failed. But you're going to approach them as if I'm better than their alternatives, and I'm going to get them as a client, okay? And that works, differently for other people. So one of the things I wanted to just ask is, what is the average sale price in Chelsea for 2-bedroom condos? Anyone know that? Who does business in Chelsea, Reggie? What's the average sale price of 2 bedrooms in Chelsea? Say it again.
Condo.
Oh, you can break it down that far? Go ahead. Huh? What about
Sergio probably.
I was gonna say 2.5, 2.3.
okay? What's the percentage discount to days on the market? Do you know that information in Chelsea? Jessica, do you know that in Upper East Side?
Do I know the Upper East
The
Side?
discount to days on the market versus the list price versus in sale price.
Condos or co-op?
Let's just do both.
Co-op's much less, 6% less.
6% more or less? Okay.
6% less.
What about Brooklyn? What's an average townhome selling, and where are the 3 spots that people in Brooklyn are going to go? Because what do we get? I want value. I need to be under 2 million.
All
right.
right. Park Slope and Crown
Give me
Heights.
3 addresses of 3 townhomes that you think are good deals right now in Brooklyn.
That one.
I didn't know
Yeah,
we were
right.
gonna have to.
All right. The point is, guys,
175.
you got to out-know everybody. You have to. When someone says to you, your random chance meeting at wherever it is, what are you looking for? I want a townhouse so badly, but I have $2 million. Can you say to them, have you been to Greenpoint?
Have you been to Harlem?
Have you been to Harlem?
Yeah.
Have you been to so-and-so?
Harlem too bad.
Because
Greenpoint's pretty expensive.
whatever it is, you know what I say if they need Brooklyn? Call Paul. That's my answer. That's my answer. But if you can give them, and I would even say specifically, if you can, be prepared to say to them, one at 122nd and Frederick Douglass is incredible. It's been redone. It was an estate. Someone took it in. If you know that, by the way, there's a perception, whether it's true or not, that you are an expert and know more than the last person that they met, who doesn't know anything, who says, let me get back to you with that information, right? Someone walks in and talks to Sean, I'll just use that as an example because it was amazing, walks in, he was ready to answer questions for a guy who wanted to spend a lot of money on new development. He literally sold an apartment from here to a new development within, I don't know, I'm gonna say 5 hours, the guy was ready to buy an apartment. And the next day sold another one. Because he was ready to answer questions about what he had, okay? So for me, answering those questions is, if you can't answer, why would I list my apartment in Chelsea? What good are you? I mean, honestly. Why you, first of all, we'll get to that. But what do you know about the market that I can't find on Street Easy, that I can't find on OLR, that I can't find on, oh sorry, this is a deal I have to take. So for me, that's really a key to my business. And for those of you who know me well, you know that I'm obsessed with listings, and I review every listing in the whole city every morning, hundreds of them. The core daily report that Doug sends out, I think, is very important for us to look at, because you know what just moved in price. That at 7 o'clock in the morning, or at 6:45 this morning, I emailed a new listing at 71 Lake Street that the client's going to pick up on Street Easy by the time they wake up at 8:30 or 8. But they had it at 6:45 for me, because I know they told me what they want, and our job is to find that thing to do. Okay. So I would just say that if you're going to do this, who's been in the business less than a year? Less than 2 years? Does this resonate in that way of knowing what's there? Because it happens a lot, especially, by the way, at open houses. So when you get to a second year, and you're 5 years, and you're standing in an open house, and someone's like, oh my gosh, I love this apartment, but it's just a little too small.
Or in knowing, because sometimes they'll throw out addresses of places they were just there that day. I'm like, oh yeah, I saw that one. It has this and that.
Correct.
And I'm like, yeah.
And then to be able to say to them, the challenge is the building's,
Exactly.
the building's reassessing itself. The reason that there's 3 apartments on the market in that building is the board is changing, and they just had the second, amendment in their common charges this year. By the way, if you know that, you're really, really smart, and you're an expert. I used to use the example that in Minnesota, when I used to drive people in my car, you would drive by and they would say, oh my gosh, look at that house. It's so amazing. It's so perfect. There's a sold sign on the hanging sign. That was a great house. It sold for $1.2 million. It was so perfect. You drive down the block, you'd see another house. What about that one? That was overpriced. It took 9 months to sell, and it sold for $1. You do that 3 or 4 times, they can stop asking questions, because they know that when they ask another question, you know the answer. I will tell you that my depth of that was probably 4. If they would have asked 5, I would have been, I don't know, I have to get back to you. But after 2 or 3 or 4 of those answers, they don't ask you anymore, right? I mean, we all have buildings, too, that if someone asks, is there anything coming up in the building? You know. You should know, because you know the super, you talk to the doorman, you meet clients in the hallway, and I'm looking at you because you guys have a building, that's what it works. On the elevator, what do you got? Hi, I'm Brett, I'm a real estate broker. We're listing an apartment downstairs. Would you like to go up and see ours, because we're thinking about selling? Okay, let me just hit the up button now, and we'll just go up and take a look at that right now. So I ask those questions not, to obviously put us on the spot, but know that information. So the story, and Reggie actually, I told you this the other day. My father's a retired car dealer, which is where I get my scumbagness, I guess. But he left a factory manufacturing job, in the 70s, which was a very secure job. I don't even know how much money they made, but a house cost $7,000 or whatever. 4 kids. And he knew that he couldn't make enough money to support everyone doing that job. Probably would have had a good life, but he couldn't make enough money. So a friend introduced him to the car business. The first month, kind of came out of the gate, sold 10 or 12 cars, thought this is really great. Whether that would be lucky or he's good, whatever it was. The next month he sold 0. And those are the days where there were no draws. Made no money, he's 4 kids at home, just left his job, no savings, just bought a house. What do you do? So he committed himself to going onto the lot, and every single car, every color, every option package, what's 4-wheel drive, what's 2-wheel drive. Blue only has automatic, green we have in a 5, whatever it was. So when someone came on the lot, he was so ready to say, what are you looking for? My wife loves red. We have 9 red cars. Please tell me you want a Cordoba. 4-door, automatic. She doesn't want a Cordova. She wants a whatever. And he was prepared to do that. The next month he sold 33 cars. Okay? And to be honest with you, it never changed from that point forward, because what he instilled in himself that day was, when you're sitting at a car dealer from 9 until 11, if one person comes by between 9 and 11, they're buying a car. I mean, no one's shopping at a car at 9:15 in the morning unless they're ready to buy a car. But so what he spent the whole day doing was learning the inventory so that when someone came, there was no question that he was ready to answer their question. Okay? So whatever you guys do, downstairs, upstairs, in your office, at home, on the train, understand this inventory and understand this market, and you win. I mean, you know, Jessica and I have had a lot of fun over the last 12 months working together. And I think she will attest to the fact that one of the things that has happened as our relationship has grown is that our knowledge of inventory has really changed. That I could basically put Jessica in front of anyone in Chelsea, and she basically would know all the answers. She knows more about Excel spreadsheets now, I think, than anyone in the entire world. They're very long, but they're very good. And
Somebody's gotta keep you working.
someone's going to keep it ordered. So,
Hey. Well, it's why I'm here.
so look, I mean, that's a bit of beating a dead horse a little bit, but I can just tell you that the business comes, and you can track your business when you know the information. And you will be astounded by the fact that, you know, if your focus is Upper East Side, or if your focus is Chelsea or West Village, or just new development, you better know all the new development. I hear Sean say that all the time. Have you been to, and by the way, last night I was talking to Elizabeth Key, I've never been to the Woolworth building, where she sold 4 apartments. I've never been there. Guess what showed up on the list today?
Another one.
4 apartments at Woolworth building that got released this morning. Never been there. I will go there and see the apartments. I don't know anything about them. So if someone asks, I hate the fact that I can honestly tell them I've never been there, but I hear it's great, which is a sucky answer, right? So if we're going to do new development and sell that, you better know it. And how hard is it? What else? I mean, what else do you have to do? Unless you're out with clients actively selling, what else are you doing? Filling your brain with information is how we should be spending our time, right? If you're not with clients. Cold calling, which I love.
You love it?
Impressive.
Hero.
So
No, I hate it more than anything. I love the fact that she's doing it.
successful.
Oh,
Love it. Love
Hard to do.
I can't do it.
So four things for me that kind of help with how I get business, at least. And one of the things this originally was going to talk about how we do walk-ins, which, you know, walk-ins are fine, and I think it's somewhat of a crapshoot. But when the opportunities come, we need to be ready for them. But 4 things that I really think about and kind of put in play in my business is I will outknow you all day. Say it.
Every day.
Every day.
Every day.
I
Right?
actually learned that from you very early on. I don't think I told you, like when you take your buyers to a listing, know more than the listing agent. Because I used to be like, okay, the listing agent will know more than I do because it's his listing. But there's something in taking your buyers, and when they ask a question, you answer it before he does.
Correct.
It makes you
Because
look
I
like
wanna
you're
be
in a
the
position
expert.
of
Well, it's
power.
also
Right.
good when you prep them ahead of time, then the listing agent doesn't know, and they, you
Oh,
know,
that's the
you weren't.
best.
right.
And by the way, Sergio, the same thing. When you have a
Very
listing,
frequently.
when you have a listing, the buyer that's coming with their broker, assume that they're a bad broker. Just assume it, because they are. They're not as good as us, I can tell you that much, right? You know more than their dumb broker who prepared for 1 minute walking into that. This is our job. This is what we do. And I often say that, you know, if you have a long-term client and a focus of a year, we sold an apartment just recently on 20th Street. 1 year it took me to get the listing. 1 year. 2.7, almost $2.8 million. What would anyone else in America do for a $70,000 commission? They get on a bus in Westchester. They go to, what's the place called where the buses come? Port Authority bus stop. They get on some random train. They go to some office. They're there at 8 o'clock in the morning, maybe 7:45. They sometimes just stay till 5:30. They go home. They barely see their kids, and they have to come in 1 Saturday a month to do inventory for $65,000 a year. That's what they do. That's what most people do. We get to do that every day. We get to do it all day,
Every
every day. Yeah, all day, every day. So, but that's the truth, is that I will outknow you. And that works. I mean, Sergio's to his point. You have the chance to impress your buyers and make sure that they know you're the professional. When you have a listing, you also impress upon buyers, who, by the way, probably just met that broker at another random open house. They have no allegiance to them. I mean, right? I mean, most of us deal with that. Buyers are all liars, all of them.
All the time.
All of them. But what can we do to, I'll take them, I don't care, I'll poach the crap out of them, I could care less, you know? If their buyers suck, if their agent sucks, and you connect with them, sell them an apartment. And by the way, has anyone had that where the buyer has called you, the listing broker, right?
I've had the buyer refer me the client rather than
Their own broker,
agent that they
right.
used.
It's amazing to think about that. I mean, they're sitting in front of you with their broker. I don't feel sorry for them at all, by the way. This is like full Karate Kid.
Have you ever had
This is
someone
Cobra
that
Kai.
came with their broker and asked you for your business card?
Of course, and you give it to
That's
them.
happened to me, and
Yeah.
I'm just like,
Yeah,
Don't be scared.
I had
Give it
somebody
to them.
asking.
And those ones bring the gold ones out. The golden boss is like, ding! Like, you know, and they come out.
Wait, what we asked what?
What were we gonna
I had
say?
somebody asking me in front of their broker to come over and look at their place.
Right.
I didn't know what to say.
Right.
The answer
And I
is yes,
said-
you will.
I said, well, I referred to the broker, but she's standing right there, what would you do?
The answer is,
My card's on the table.
any way I can help you, please let me know. And just please let me know. All my
And then have your
information's on the
card?
sheet.
No,
No, usually the information on the sheet, right?
on the sheet.
The truth is, if the broker was worth 2 cents, they would step up.
Right.
I mean, of the people I know in this room who do really good business, I can even imagine, if that was said in front of Brett, what the hell, I mean, I can't even imagine what he would do, like, to the broker, like, what? He'd say to his clients, can you guys just go outside for 1 second, I forgot my umbrella that I'm gonna use to kill someone real fast, right? So, but, take them. They're telling you, I hate my broker.
No, you sold an apartment at the Flynn to someone with a broker.
We had this person who walked in.
They called him after and he listed their apartment.
She wanted to do a walkthrough to do some measurements, so I took her up, where are you moving from? Just basic things. Engage conversation about real estate. We only talk about 2 things in New York, what are they? Real estate and food, that's it. That's it.
You talk about your dog.
And Stella, of course. She's fun.
is she part of the real estate?
She's
She's
a
part of
real
the
estate
team. So
professional,
she
so-
actually, she's real estate, she's real estate asterisk #1. But we talk about real estate and food, right? So everyone does. So just be ready to engage in those conversations. And again, I keep saying those exact same things. But this girl comes in, just wants to do some measurements. Where are you from? You know, where do you live now? I live on 24th Street. I have a little apartment. Blah 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 blah. I'm like, oh my gosh, we do a lot of business around that neighborhood on 32nd, 34th, 35th Street. You know, we've actually had 5 one-bedroom listings this year, and you know, a couple of studios around. Here's what's interesting. I didn't know where she lived, but how much is a 1-bedroom in the Murray Hill, Kips Bay area cost?
700,
Right, 650 to 750. No, but it is, right? It's 650 to 750. I don't know how much your apartment's worth, but how easy is it for you to say to her, that seems like right now in our market, that's a pretty good price range, because you'd probably be like low 7s, mid 7s, right? I had no idea what her apartment was, but I know what everybody else sells for. She has a 1-bedroom apartment with outdoor space on East 24th Street. What's it sell for? $740,000, by the way,
What did it
multiple
sell
offers
for?
the first day. 740.
Yeah.
Multiple offers, right? And she thought it was worth 700. But the truth is, I knew it standing there what her apartment was worth, and I didn't see it, because I know what everything sells for in Kips Bay and Murray Hill. So again, just use that for what it's worth. Her broker sold her an apartment, and I listed her apartment, and she said, "I hate Carol." She was so unhelpful that I met her through a friend, and I wanted to look at new development, and so I had her bring me for God knows what reason, right? She wasn't even there for the walkthroughs, whatever. It was terrible. And then that girl referred me to her brother, who needs to sell his place for $2.2 million, right? I didn't do anything. I just knew how much apartments cost in Kips Bay. That was it. And it created that conversation to do it. So anyway, I'll know you for sure.
Well, Steve, just to your point, most buyers, brokers, I find, are lazy, and once they have a deal that's
Yep.
accepted, they stop engaging their clients. So if they need to come back for measurements, they need to do like, you know, bring a GC through.
Right.
Like, it's in your best interest to be
To show up.
overly accommodating
Right.
and show up when the broker decides,
Right.
you know what, I'm just gonna hand them over. It's like handing them over. You don't try to sell them, but you just try to be overly accommodating and knowledgeable, and then they start asking you for things. They're like, oh, my broker never sent me the alteration agreement. Could you send it to me like today? Like, sure, I'll send you the alteration agreement. And you just kind of keep a steady flow with them, and at the end of the day,
Right.
it comes right back around.
And by the way, it's a good point, because with buyers, unlike sellers, we have exclusive, we have to agree by the revenue rules with listings that we're not allowed to market those deals. But if they call you, it's fair game, right? Everyone knows that? If a seller calls you with their apartments listed with a broker, it's fair game, you can do whatever you
They're
want.
engaging you.
You're not allowed to engage them.
What do you mean?
But they.
That's a
Well,
good time.
If a listing is listed
Someone else.
with someone else, if the seller contacts you because you mail the building, or the super or the doorman mentions to them, you know, we just did a deal, they just did a deal on this apartment, you know. Brett and Adrian sold 2 of them this week, both of them crazy enough sold in the first day, one sold off market. How's your apartment going? Because that, by the way, that's what the doormen do, and why do they do it?
It happened on 20.
They do it for money.
Absolutely.
That's why they do it. They're nice people, but they do it because we pay them, right?
Or you should.
Or we should. If you're not, by the way, you better start allocating money to pay doormen and
So
supers.
how does that, I don't know how that works.
And I bring
But wait,
Is
what is it that
That's
you're
illegal.
Alright, so hold on, so sorry.
If you can't
That's
pay them, I
illegal,
bring
Steve.
them food.
Yeah, if you can't do it, what is it?
Just bring them food, it's a lot less
Paying a doorman, I'm
expensive.
saying, hey, thank you so much, here's just a
Gray
gift
area.
card.
Right.
You meant, look, it's a gray area, it's gray area, whatever. Everyone pays everybody.
But what is it that you're allowed to do if the seller
If the seller contacts you, you can say, what's going on with your listing? Nothing is selling. We've had 15 showings in 120 days. How did you sell your listing in 23 days? I'd be happy to meet with you to talk about that, which you can, by the way.
Right, face to face.
That you can meet with them if they
As
do.
long as they have
As long as they
initiate.
My bill, one of my
Correct,
buildings,
which
right?
happened with Jessica's. It was listed,
Wasn't selling.
wasn't selling, met at
And I blew
a,
up yoga and went to my building shareholder meeting
and got a listing.
Did,
And got a listing, and we sold it for
Right.
more than
First
the
open
original,
house.
than the original list price, above asking price.
We just staged it.
Because we staged it. Actually, what was interesting was we sold it for almost to the penny of what it cost to stage it, above the list price. So like double heroes, right? We took over the listing, sold it for more,
Right,
and recouped the staging costs, so that was really good.
right.
So to Brett's point though, a buyer isn't protected usually under the same ways that a listing is. Because most buyers aren't signing exclusive buyer representation agreements. If they do, you can't touch them. But a buyer, why can't I email a buyer who contacts you, or they do walkthrough with you, right? Which happens all the time. Their broker can't do it, it's fine, you engage with them. To send out an email, how'd the bid go? How was the contractor? Did you find a good kitchen? Whatever it's gonna be. You can absolutely do that. Now you might piss off the broker on the other side, so you wanna be selective on who you piss off. But there are people that I don't care if I piss off.
When you're talking about contacting the broker via the listing.
No, I'm talking contacting buyers who you
I mean, the buyer,
develop,
the
you develop a rapport with. I'm not saying you should do that. I'm just saying over the course, it's not every day that you do that. But when there's an opportunity that you begin to develop that relationship, that buyer's buying your listing. They're your client going forward, just so we're clear on that. Everyone knows that, right? When they buy your listing and they move in, you're following up with them. You're sending them the market
Holiday
updates.
card.
You're sending them the holiday cards. You're asking about their dog and their kids. That's what you're doing. And if you're not, someone else will and you lose. Okay? But they're your buyers. They're your clients going forward. And you have to think of it that way.
Or your seller.
And so is their
Huh?
cousin,
Or
and so
your
is
Or
their
the seller. What is
Where
that?
do you
So is their cousin, and so is their neighbor.
Well, you hope so,
Right.
right? You hope so. And Blue actually just said an interesting thing. If you have a buyer and the seller sells the apartment and you get a HUD sheet, everyone asks for a HUD at closing, so you know where the seller moved. Whose client are they now? It's fair game. They might have a great relationship with Sean. I'm not thinking your clients, by the way. But they might have a great relationship with their broker, but I'm still mailing them. I'm still saying, how's your new apartment? Because they moved into a new place too. How's your new place? How are the kids adjusting to school? Because if you're not doing that at a closing table and engaging why everyone's moving and what the plans are, you're missing some vital information to grow your business, right? So you just got to know more. Because you can guarantee, we don't have multiple listing service here, and we're not monitored by the National Association of Realtors, but they every single year send hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of surveys with 20, 30 questions. How was your broker? Oh, amazing. Greatest. Best. Most professional. Knew everything. Blah, 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 blah. They send one question a year later. What's your broker's name? 70% can't even give you a broker's name. They just move on to the next deal, and move on to the next deal. The 30 or so percent who can do that, those are their clients forever, right? And that's what we're competing against. Lowest common denominator. Paul Johansson, who's not here, he actually said, I went to my real estate class and I was so intimidated. Here's a room full of people. What am I getting myself into, whatever. And then you sit in a class and you start hearing these morons asking questions. And he started saying, this is who I'm competing against? Are you freaking kidding me? It's 400 people in the class. One has to be the best broker. Guess who that is? It was him. That's how this business goes. And if you can't see everyone else like that, I don't, and by the way, I'm really compassionate and nice and kind. You guys all know that.
He's lying.
Oh, that was not a joke?
This is about me and my kids, our 37 kids, and feeding our ridiculous dog, you know? That is money that is ours to go get, okay? Second thing for me, everyone that I know knows that I'm in real estate. Everyone. Someone knows you're in real estate now, don't they? Right? Tell a story.
Yeah, tell that story, it's the greatest. I
Tell your
love
story.
everyone.
Tell your story.
I used to work with a young girl, and I went to a religious gathering on a high holy evening, and she introduced me to her parents, who were looking for an apartment, and I'm their agent.
Hold on.
Yes.
Yeah, but the best
You're forgetting the
part
whole part of the story.
The whole part is very long, I don't
No.
want to bore everyone.
Can I do it?
Okay.
Here's the part of the story. Hi, nice to see you, great to meet you, blah, 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 blah. She leaves and thinks, I forgot to tell her I switched careers and I'm in real estate. She reached out to her, was it
She
via
went on
Facebook?
LinkedIn.
LinkedIn. Reached out to her. Guess what her parents bought? A $1.8 million apartment for her first sale. Be shy about. You sold a $1.8 million apartment. You're buying drinks next week. So everyone has to know you're in real estate. It's very simple. We talk about two things: real estate and food. That's it.
And by the way, he knows that. He knows what everybody here sells. He studies all of it.
And you know one of the reasons, by the way, I know what everyone sells here. If you were going on a listing pitch in
Right.
Tribeca for $8 million, and the question from the seller is, "What have you done in Tribeca for $8 million?" We have a family at core. We can actually, and I've asked David this. You might want to ask some of the brokers, but we can take Core's business and say, "This is what we've done. We have done in Tribeca." I sent for a penthouse that we're pitching. The guy said, "What have you sold for above $8 million?" The answer was 0. How many apartments have you sold in Chelsea? The answer was a lot, right? He said, "Well, help me understand why I should have you sell an $8.25 million listing." So I showed this to Reggie the other day. We took every single comp in Chelsea that matched up price-wise. So like 6 to 9 million, 6 to 10 million. I gave him the link to the listing. I gave him the broker's name and their phone number. Only one broker, Franz Katzen. Only one person sold more than one of those apartments. So he was wanting to say, who's the expert that I should list with? The answer was no one. Me. I can give you all the information now that they won't give you. You can call them all. They're not going to give you this much information. And when I met with him, he said, "I cannot believe you sent me a list." I told David this too, and it was actually kind of his idea. I gave him a list with all of the information that he could have used against me to call the other brokers who sold $8 million listings. We sat going to look at apartments. He said, "We've decided we're going to give it to you. We're not going to interview anybody else. Because what am I going to find out? I know what apartment they sold. I know how much they sold it for and how long it was on the market for." And I did put in there, so if you want the best broker in Chelsea, call France. Here's her phone number. By the way, I had nothing to lose, right? But I got the listing by giving them all the information. Someone's giving it to them, so it might as well be us, okay? So everyone knows that we're in real estate. And for the reason of being a resource, your goal in this business is to get a call. Who should I call about countertops? If people are calling you to ask where to go for countertops, you win, okay? Who should I get to refinish my floors? Have those in your deal. My mom died. We're in probate. I need an attorney who specializes in that. You better have that in your contacts. Call attorneys. Guess what they'll do? They'll love you. They might even send you a deal. right? Probate attorneys for sure, divorce attorneys, forget it.
Oh.
Know all that. Oh, we're not married yet, I can't divorce you.
No.
So one of the things, if you guys have ever read a book, that one of the things we should be doing is creating raving fans for ourselves, right? So if you can create a sphere of people who talk great about you, creating referrals, which is the ultimate goal in this business, because they're cheap. The acquisition cost of a client is really cheap if someone tells someone else how great you are. And they call, hey, Melissa gave me your name, she said you helped her out tremendously, you were so great, I need some help, right? So create some raving fans and figure out what that looks like. I know that you guys have clients who write letters that you mail to the buildings, that they write and say, Michael and Brian, they were great. The team was so great, it was, they were so helpful to me. And they mail those to the building that their owners are all right to do. We just got a listing. So someone called me, a broker called us as listed. When my seller closed, she mailed to the building, I've loved living here for 7 years. It's been great to get to know you, to invest in my life. If you're selling, I didn't know it. If you're selling your apartment or thinking about any real estate questions, I would highly suggest that you call Steve Snider. She gave all my information in the email to the board. The next day, the guy called, said, when can we meet?
Who already has it listed?
Who already has it listed?
Someone else.
He canceled it yesterday, and we're taking the listing on February 13th.
And it needs to be staged.
It needs to be.
And by the way, it all comes back to
it needs. It's about what can you bring and what can we offer to be experts. We know what sells. We know what it's going to take, right? So create raving fans, I think, is something that we want to do. And then along that, where and how can you add the most value to a deal? By the way, sometimes it's not even to get money. If someone's asking you a question about real estate, where's the value play for you? Where's the piece that you can add that no one else can? Just figure that out. I don't know, be ready to answer a question. Be ready to say, I can get you tickets to that. I have, by the way, Michael Strauss, if you guys don't know Michael Strauss, his brother owns this really cool company that gets tickets basically for anything like StubHub, but you can give gift cards, it's kind of cool. But if you we know people. Oh, I'm bringing my sister in. All she wants to see is Hamilton. All she wants to see is Cats. All she wants to see is whatever it is. We can help her get tickets. It's not that hard. What did it cost you? $0. Call this guy. You can get a ticket. It might be 5 years, but someone's going to remember that, you did something great. Or if anyone needs a reservation at any restaurant, just call Trevor, because he can help you with that. Anything, just name it. He can get you in there. And I will also say that we need to get really honest too about what we do and how we do it. There are only so many brokers in this city who sell $20 million apartments. I know that we'd all like them, and we all want them. They don't sell well, which is really hard to sell. But you have to get honest about where your business is. My first year in New York, by the way, I met with Sean and Vicki Barron 6 years ago. I know nothing. I've barely been to New York, right? I was with Lisa for 8 months, and I wanted to do real estate. I don't have any sphere, nothing, not one person. I met another guy at another company who basically does rentals. My first year, which you guys will appreciate this, I did 42 rentals and collected a fee on every one of them.
Well, wait, you met with Sean and said to him after meeting with him, I'm not ready here
because I can't do this. I don't know anything about it, and I can't start from zero. So I went to a company that had leads. I did 42 rentals my first year, which, by the way, means I met with 200 plus people. It was freaking horrible. It was awful. I had no money. I had to make money, and I used it to learn every building throughout Manhattan. Take every rental you can get, and they suck. But take them all, because you make money, and you learn so much more in the process, right? So that's what you have. So you have to get really honest, too, is that it's sometimes very humbling when you don't get a deal. You don't get a listing that you think you're qualified to get. Or to think, really, my target market might be $700,000, which, by the way, anywhere else in the world, you'd take $700,000 listings and bring a petting zoo and give everyone hot air balloons and hot dogs. And here we're like, oh gosh, I'm on the B team. Now they have $700,000 listings. So get honest about what your business is going to be and figure out how that's going to grow. Because it's not growing from $250,000 co-ops in Rosedale. What's it called? Riverdale? What's all the way up there?
You don't know anything about that either, baby.
You need
Go
to
to
know
it.
it.
What do I need to know?
You need a road trip to the Bronx.
I know that someone can help them.
Riverdale.
I know that I know someone that
I
can
lived
help
there
them.
for 5 years. It's great.
It's great. It's great up there. I heard it's really growing.
She likes taking listings up there. We hate it because we have to go.
My father grew up up there. It's far up
It's
there.
just far if you don't have a car. It's like 90 minutes.
I don't even know where it is. But, so, by the way, most people aren't going from that to a $10 million penthouse. It's not happening. I mean, it might happen because of some serendipitous meeting with,
Yeah,
whoever
but
it's
you're
gonna be.
also, to add to that though, those multiple $700,000 listings, if you do 10 of those $700,000 listings, you just did a $7 million deal.
And also, you don't know who their friends
So
are,
that's
their uncle are, their
Never.
grandma are, their sisters are, friends.
No idea. So, I just say get honest about what your business is gonna look like, for real. We all know what we want it to look like. But what's it really gonna look like over the next 12 months? Plan, by the way, it's something you wanna do. And I would also say be really humble along those same lines. It's not me. I'm not going to be humble. Everyone else should be.
That's not
I'm
true.
kidding. She looked at me.
You, Glenn.
We just took a $2,825 rental. It's great. It was great. It was nice to meet the people that we met. But I mean, I'm going to be honest. I'm not taking out $2,825 rentals, right? I'm hoping that.
You took them over?
No, out after that. Like if you meet these people. I'm hoping that David and Xander and Jessica and anyone else that wants those renters that we talk to can take them out. I mean, I'm being humble about and honest that that's not what I'm doing anymore, right? But if someone says, do you want to take out a $2,825 rental and last month you made no money? Your answer is? Yes, sir, may I have another? Right? That's the answer. I mean, and that has to be the way that we do this. And at core, unlike anyone else, who has asked for help with another broker in this company? And not someone, by the way, if you're on a team, you ask those people for help. But who asks for help from someone else in this company, right?
Even in the team,
You still ask for, we're on a team, you ask them, but you ask anyone in this company for help. I mean, Jim St. Andre, who is, by the way, there's levels of real estate brokers, and then there's Jim St. Andre, in my opinion.
Yeah.
If you don't know him, get to know him. I don't know what Trevor did to start working with him, but But Jim is a resource like none other in this business. You could literally tell him, what do you know about 273 Lafayette Street? He will say, 12 units, but it's so weird because nothing's traded in 24 months. Nothing. But you know who lives there? Right?
Yeah,
The drummer
insane.
for Psychedelic Furs. I mean, what?
So just a little story going back to what you were initially saying about know the market. There's been one building I've mentioned, I've now worked with Jim for a year, and literally there's been one building I've mentioned that he didn't know, and every other building he knows who lives there, he knows the different lines, he knows the ceiling heights and the line, I mean, it's
I mean, look,
bizarre.
No, and so I'm saying to you, I outknow most things. I'm telling you, there is another level that happens. But I had a deal from a referral of a guy buying a $3.25 million Lita loft that we were worried about the southern exposure because there were lot lines. And you remember I was talking. So I said to Jim, I need your help. I'm petrified that this is going to be assembled. Within 5 seconds, he goes, well, it was bought, those buildings were bought by. How the freaking heck? It's off-market deal. How do you, he knows everything.
Yeah.
He told me who they were off by, so I tell my buyer, who does a little bit of research. Jim said, call my architect, attorney, guy, planning person for free. Just tell him Jim said to call. Which meant, by the way, when I call, the guy picked up the phone, not his secretary. And I asked him a question about this deal, and he said, let me look, I'll get back to you tomorrow. For free. Not a consultation fee. This is someone that Jim says call, that means you win. And the guy said, this is what's going to happen. We found out what was going to happen. The broker knew nothing about what was going to happen to the space. So after we scared them that there were lot lines and we were worried about losing the thing, which nothing was going to happen, we found out, we lowered the price from what we originally agreed by $250,000. So instead of 3.25, it went to 3. What did I create? A raving fan. That's what I created. He's already given us a referral. He sends us information. He asks us questions about other deals that he sees. And that was help from someone in our company that had nothing to gain by helping me, other than just being Jim, right? So ask for a lot of help, and then learn, or as Rihanna says, guar, 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 guar. Or as my kids say, gotta do my homework, work. So anyway, this is a really, really hard business, you guys. So if they walk in the door, be ready. If they walk into your open house, you better be freaking ready, or why the hell are you there? Honest. To open the door and say, hi, I'm here. This is the bathroom. This is where you go to the bathroom. Here's a cabinet, and it has a dishwasher. Be a value, be a resource to them, right? Be the one that they call when they're ready to buy an apartment. It is a really, 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 really hard job. And if you can't make money in real estate, by the way, you should go work at McDonald's. Because we're going to end up making $6 an hour by the time these deals go together. But you got to pile a bunch of those things on because we work so freaking hard. And if you're not working hard enough, but if you're not like really exhausted in real estate, you're not working hard enough. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, if you don't have cancer already on your ear from your cell phone, you need to talk more on your cell phone to do with people. And it's really, really hard, as most of you will attest to. Right? This is not an easy business, but when you get some momentum, I mean, Brett and I have a man crush on each other. But when Brett
I'm
came,
only here today for you.
I know. When Brett, you better be. When Brett started at Core, working with Adrian and Maggie, you could hear what he wanted to do, and you could really see this hunger and this kind of desire to do it. But it was hard. I mean, this was not a simple thing to do, and it took a year for him to start building this base of what he wanted his business to grow and look like. I mean, work, you guys, work.
And put out the perception, Rustin, on his Facebook, it's all about his real estate.
Everyone knows he's in real estate now.
Everyone knows he's in real estate from, and legitimate things that he writes.
By the way, you want to get likes on your Instagram account, just have Rustin tag you in his Instagram.
He's got a lot of
feed.
followers.
Yeah,
No, but honestly,
You're
your Facebook, it's really great. I think, oh my gosh, he's a really serious agent because you put it out there. Everyone knows that
If your friends and family aren't sick of hearing you talk about real estate, then
You're missing something, right?
It's true, Rustin's really good.
And as I said before, I mean, I really think that we have a very unique opportunity at Core because of our company. I know we talk about this culture, and Sean gets up and gets teary-eyed every meeting that we get. And Doug and Dave will say, "Oh, I didn't even know the world existed until I came to Core." It's the truth. No one works like this. Nobody. That I can leave my computer open or a file on your desk, and you're not worried for 1 second that anyone's going to take your client. None. Zero. Is anyone worried about it?
Michael Rubin.
Other than Michael Rubin.
Other than Michael Rubin.
Other than Michael Rubin. Other than Michael Rubin. Right, but think about that. We're kidding about it. We're kidding. Think about what's at stake in our business. That you could have a lead for a $5 million apartment sitting on your desk, and you're confident that the people that we have built relationships with are not coming after your business. They're not. That's a weird thing to have in real estate. Especially in New York, where the stakes are so high. I mean, they're high everywhere. If you're in Minnesota and you do well in real estate, you still do really well. But here, you make $100,000 in a day. It's sitting on your desk with the name and the address, right? Maybe it shouldn't be, but we haven't had a deal get lost yet in 4 years. So we work in a very special, very, very special company. And I will say after 17 years, and I know you guys have heard this, is that I've never done business like this. And it is a part because of this culture. That when you have a question about how a deal should get done, and we're going to stand up at every meeting, and everyone's going to say, "Oh, I've never charged less than 6%, and my clients have all taken me out to dinner as thank yous afterward." They're all lying, by the way, because we all take discounts. We all have to compete at some level. David, cover your ears, cover your Smith. But here's what I know to be true. We've got an ally that you can sit down and be honest with, because he's done this for a long time, to say, "Here's my situation with this listing. I'm going to lose it if I can't compete. What do I do?" And he's going to give you the right idea as the one who's responsible for how we do our business. To have the ability to walk in and not be afraid of what David's going to say, or to say you're weak, coffee's for closers, right, like the movie, right? He's going to help you get a deal done. And we're reasonable in this company to help us grow our business. I've had him say before, is this a long-term play with this client for more business? And the answer is yes. Well, they all are, but some of them are very specifically for that reason. And so let's make sure we get the deal done. And by the way, the money's great, but the client in the long term is way more important. because it just builds and builds and builds, right? So, I was kidding mostly about 6%, because I now only get 7%. I only get 7%, just so you know, right? And I'm also doing net listing. I'm also doing net listings where I'm taking the fee on the back, which is illegal. So anyway, ask for help and understand that this is a transformative company that will absolutely change your real estate career. I mean, it sounds like an infomercial, and it's really not. There's no other place in the world that you can get this information. None. Brian worked at the front desk, and you guys should just know I have two man crushes, Brian and Brett.
No,
But-
Brian wins.
Sorry, dude.
Reggie, no, you're too aggressive. It's too aggressive.
That's not what you said last night.
I was so drunk. I won't even remember, right? One of the things that's amazing is our staff hires people to really help us in our business. So when Brian's at the front desk or anyone's at their front desk, I know because I talked to you, you learn more in a year than most people learn in 5 years. Because he worked with all of us helping do pitch books and helping to do board packages and helping do all those things. We have resources in our company you can't imagine. And this company lets Brian, who didn't do real estate, he was just a professional calligrapher. That's all he did for 5 years before he came to court.
I believe it, man.
That's all I did. He had a listing on Craigslist. That's it. I'll write letters for it. But you come here and you get an opportunity to learn at a pace that you can't learn anywhere else. You're not given a desk and say, here's the phone book, here's the access to Google, and there's your phone. Go to work. It's not how it works here, right? So I really mean that. So two things that I want to leave with. Am I okay? We have an hour, right?
You have an 11.
I've got 4 minutes to spare.
Okay.
7.
7 minutes. 6 minutes.
Just take your watch time, see what I
You need a new watch, Steve.
You heard it, Dave. I need another watch.
All right, go on.
2 African proverbs I think are appropriate, because you guys know that I love Africa. So the first one is, how do you eat an elephant? You can't answer, Lisa.
I know.
One
David?
bite at a time?
Huh?
One bite at a time.
One bite at a time. How do you eat it faster? Ask people at court to come into the break room when it's sitting here. But you do. I mean, this is an elephant that we're fighting here. It's just one at a time, at a time, at a time. It doesn't come any quicker than that, unfortunately. Sometimes you get lucky, which, by the way, Mike Best, who's an old real estate friend of mine from Minnesota, said it's not luck. It's where opportunity and preparation collide. So people might see that as luck, right? You might see luck as being in an elevator. But if you can't answer the lady's question about what her apartment's worth, you suck, right? So yeah, the opportunity was pretty lucky that person was there, but you were ready to answer the question. So one bite at a time is how I would approach real estate. So you can get 2 listings at a time, then that's even better, but don't be greedy.
Can I add just one thing?
Yeah.
The co-op market on the Upper East Side, not only is declining, co-op market, but the commissions payable on $3, $4, $5 million apartments are now declining to 2.5% for people buyers.
Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah.
2.5%.
So come down to Chelsea and do some business.
No, I've got to work with
Here.
Jessica on the Upper East Side. No, but that's the
We
fact.
can do that, we'll talk.
Okay,
Talk.
but that's the
You gonna
fact.
talk?
It's the
You
Upper
gonna
East
talk
Side.
over some coffee? Yeah.
We're gonna talk
We'll
over
talk.
coffee.
It's Upper East Side, we have to talk.
The second thing is, and this is said a lot in Africa, but if you want to go fast, you go alone. If you want to go far, you go together. And I mean that sincerely about this company. And I better get something for this, David, how I'm being the biggest cheerleader. But as I was preparing for today, I started realizing, what'd you say?
Bagels.
Oh, thank you. As I was preparing for this today, I really did start settling in on what's happened over 4 years of being at CORE. And it is because I've prepared very well. It is because I know a lot of things. But it's also because I work at a company where we can ask questions and know things that I didn't know yesterday because of this deal. So go fast alone, right? Go far together. And that's all I would say, about CORE. So we got a couple of minutes. Any questions, anything? Stop.
No questions. question, but drawing back, tying everything together with what you said and Brett said, I think it's really important to treat this as a relationship business and not a transactional business. Like Brett said, there's so many brokers that they have a signed contract and that's it, they check out. I'll call them and they'll be like, oh yeah, just let the lawyers handle that or stuff like that. And that's ridiculous because that's just one transaction, they're done, they check out. If you treat it as a relationship, they're gonna resell. Everyone buys and sells here with like every 5 years.
Well, if you sell someone a one-bedroom apartment, when are they selling? If they're married and they buy a one-bedroom apartment, when are they selling?
3 years.
3 years.
The truth is, you should be excited about selling studios and one bedrooms because the turnover
It's
is
so
like
high.
2-3
Like
years.
2-3 years tops.
They're pregnant, their boyfriend, they're married, and then all of a sudden you're triple dipping before you know it in less than 3 years.
Right.
Well, because the point is that it's not supposed to be short-term, this is a long-term business, it's a business, it's not a one-off transaction, which is what a lot of agents do. I mean, I can speak for my own, when I bought my own apartment, I never heard from that agent again. If I knew then what I know now, I probably would have had a different agent, but she was very short-term focused.
Short-term work, and sometimes you kind of have to like work without making that much money if you know that there's gonna be a relationship down the line.
It's worth it, right?
Right.
It's worth it.
I have a
Yes.
question. How do you handle people, which I've come across just a handful of times now, who are sort of on the other side? Like if I were to meet you and you were the client and you were trying to outknow me, which a lot of New Yorkers, I have an experience,
Yeah.
try and do. How do you handle people like that?
So I'm very, I don't know if you guys have picked
Keep
it
them
up.
in the position.
I'm kind of sarcastic, right? And I'm kind of sarcastic about that. But I say to people very honestly, you want to do my job or do you want me to do it? Because if you're going to get up at 6 o'clock and search every listing and read every comp report and everything in the world, then I can't really compete with that. We're doing the same job. The problem is I can help you get a better picture, but you're taking the information that you have and you're compiling whatever this you have. We had dinner with clients the other night, and she's like, and they're our best clients, but she's like, so the market's really taking a hit. Well, the answer in short is yes. Do you want to buy a $20 million penthouse? Because I can sell you that for $15 million. If you want to buy a $3 million apartment in Chelsea, which 4 do you want, right? So you have to help them understand that their information, which is accurate in their mind, is really not true. Start isolating it down. Reggie, you still there? He left. So we were talking about a deal that he's working on, and his seller is using a comp that happened downstairs. That was a different apartment, it's a little bit bigger, and so one of the things he asked, like, how should I do this? Like, what's the approach? And I said, let's get some information together so that you can go to them, because his sellers think they know everything about the market.
Right.
And they know a lot, but they don't know the real parts of it. They don't know what happens if your apartment's been on the market for 110 days. Their apartment might be worth $1.7 million, but not to a buyer now. 120 days, forget it. It's dead. Dead. You better get ready to cut the price or take it off the market for 3 months because you're getting undercut by 20%, right? So that's what I do. I just try to put some of that in perspective with them. If they want to do it all, then let them do it all.
Can I add to that?
Still be a resource, because what you'll still find is, hey Steve, I saw a listing. What do you think about it? If you can at least get that with someone who's doing all the work, by the way, that's even better. What do you say?
You know, personally, I come up across that a lot because a lot of my friends think they're fucking know-it-alls.
Yeah.
You know, they're in finance and they're just like, they'd probably rather buy on their own, frankly.
Right.
So, you know, I just keep them in the position of power. Like, keep feeding their ego. Yeah, you know everything, but they oftentimes send me, you know, links to, oh, the market's overpriced, interest rates, just all speculation, like all this just nonsense out there. And I just draw from real experience. And I'm like, look, you could say this. I get where you're coming from, but I'm just gonna tell you a story. I just sold this apartment to my other client. We got 10% off the ask. This is the real scenario. Oh, but I also just sold something on the Upper East Side. It went 10% over ask. So it's all relative. It's all depending on the price point, depending how the property shows, so you draw from real experience, and they sort of simmer down a little bit, you know. But that's the truth. Is
one thing on that, by the way.
Everyone thinks they know everything.
Yeah, that's what I
Who's been in the business long enough that you stopped working with a client? It was impossible. What's the point? I mean, there's no point in doing it anymore.
Yeah. Some people just suck.
They just suck.
So it's kind of like, fine.
We had an article from you know, we don't get a ton of referrals from past lives, right? It just doesn't happen that often, but we got one, and the guy, of course, knows more than anyone. And he sends an article that was just full of, it wasn't full of BS, it was one of those inflated articles about skies falling, blah, blah, blah. So I took it, like, in kind of in a dickish way, to be honest, because I was tired of his bullshit back and forth. And I responded, and I ripped this article to pieces. And I must have used 50 comps of every single thing that the article mentioned about where the market was down. And showed everything that was over list price, and everything that sold within 5 days.
Yeah, but guess what?
Huh?
Where is he today?
No, he's dead. He's gone. I don't want him as a client because he's never going to get it.
Killed him,
If you're going to give someone all the information that's right, if they can't see you as an expert and value what you do, find someone else. It's a waste of your time. They're just going to mess with you, you know, for the whole time.
I mean, it's very hard to let a client go like that, like who wants to buy, of course.
Yeah, but
but-
your
But
time,
then you have to
really
let the
not
person
lying.
value your time. People
Absolutely.
don't respect your time. They think you're a broker, you only open doors, they think your job's
Right.
super easy. If you don't make them respect you, they're never gonna respect you.
But you know something, but there's also something, when you mentioned the, I mean, there are articles out there, everybody wants a headline grabber, like I had a buyer email me, what do you think about this? It was a Bloomberg article, this is the market tumbling. The New York market is tumbling, which of course my head exploded when I saw that article. And then I broke it down for her and I said, that's great. I said, it's a headline, and I broke it down and I said, these are, in your neighborhoods that you wanna buy, this
Here's
is
reality.
what's happening.
Here's reality.
Here's what it is in these neighborhoods, but it's too general.
It's an opportunity, great,
It's
let's
what-
go buy some.
And by the way,
It don't be
new
defensive.
development inventory this year versus last year, it's down 16%.
Right.
So I don't care what they're going to, it's down 16%.
Yeah.
So talk about all the glut. If you want to buy a $20 million penthouse, we'll help you get a really good deal.
Right.
But that's
You
your
want-
official go-to for research.
So-
Yeah, because he does a lot of
Because
research,
we don't have-
every
yeah,
spare
what-
moment.
It's really hard.
Mm-hmm.
David, you get another accolade. If you use Jaguar in a way that sometimes makes sense, you can actually search by street. You can search by neighborhood. You can even search by company. You can search by agent. Why does that agent seem to be selling everything on the Upper East Side between these blocks? You can type in their name and see all their transactions, right? And start getting a trend of, yeah, they've taken listings, they've all had price reductions, right? So you can start talking to those kinds of intricate kind of pieces. If you're not using Urban Digs, you should be. It's a pretty comprehensive source, not exactly, but Urban Digs is a site, we've had them come. David, maybe with enough new agents, we should have Urban Digs come back and talk to it again.
Some of the recorded information, but they do have some real-time data.
But Property Shark, Street Easy